about why did you think that I had an issue with Cassidy? And I
Oh,
was
you
like,
talking about that conversation?
huh?
You talking about that conversation where I was a little bit mad about how you handled when he was
Yeah,
at,
you
okay.
sent me a text and you was like, yo, I'm not feeling with what that was. And I was like, all right, well, let me call you. So I called you and we talked about it. And it was like, all right, you know what? I jumped out the window because I assumed when you were on your rant that it was about Cass,
Now
right?
you talking about,
Right.
okay.
So when you was posting on IG, from my standpoint, it was right after that interview that Cass had with Math and Daylight. So I didn't see the interview, but I had heard about the interview. So and then you were posting, you were intentional with what you were posting, but it had nothing to do with Cass. But I assumed that it was. So I was like, okay, this is probably why he's going off, right?
Okay, yeah.
So
So let me clarify something to you. All right. Now, one thing that I learned off of communicating with people via text or just trying to read captions and trying to you can't text expression. You know what I'm saying? So when we use words like rant, we need to be really careful because there's a various amount of ways that that can be taken. When I first of all, I don't go on rants. Like unless I was inspired by some of the things Cassidy has been saying in the battle rap space, conversations y'all been having about the science of syllables. And I was intrigued by it because I thought us in Detroit was the only niggas who sit around and had those kinds of conversations. So I I'm highly entertained by the way that he expresses himself in regards to the science of syllables. Even with the shit that I disagree with, it's funny. I like it. There's no downside to it. I have no problem with it. So, but there is pieces of it that if we had some sort of relationship, then that could be challenged. You know what I'm saying? So like when I started talking about the science on my IG, because I don't really know Kaz like that, I made sure that I kept everything that I was saying really broad. So part of it was inspired by that, but it wasn't a rant. It was a reason to post different styles, different ways that I was approaching syllables, different ways that Elzai is approaching the syllables, Marshall from way back from a certain year, you know what I mean? All of these things that correlate to the point, kind of like the point that I was making. And I was just talking about just competitive rap, really long captions, and just music. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't a rant. It was just me talking shit. You know what I'm saying? So when I was done with that, by the time I was done with that, we had already had Ransom and fucking RJ Payne in the conversation. We was off to the races. We was having a ball. I was up all night. We was having a fucking ball. Everybody was laughing. You was in the comments laughing. Lou came into the comments. Y'all came into the comments. Y'all came into the conversation.
we came into the conversation. Well, I came into the conversation because I found it fire that you was posting your shit and niggas because the posts are up. So I was just like, damn, this nigga's going off. This shit is fire. This nigga's posting fire shit. Fire shit. Fire shit. This shit is hard. That's all I was doing. Right? So then now when when RJ posts what he posts, right? You have a specific energy that you put out there. So I was like, oh, okay, this nigga got this type of energy. All right, that's what's up.
Explain
But
that.
wait, let me finish, Royce. Royce. Let me finish. Right. So when you posted what you posted in response, I was like, that's hard. You know, that's how he feel. When I saw RJ response, I was like, all right, this the way RJ responded in his post, it was like, all right, you know what? Let me hit Royce and see if we could just get on live to talk it out. Now, me inserting myself into that, if that's something, if niggas feel like that was me jumping into a conversation that had nothing to do with me, when I saw that it could have
Everything at that moment right there that you're talking about, everything was still all good. You know what I mean? Like I can understand somebody from maybe the outside looking in, looking at it and maybe coming to a conclusion that rappers have a problem with each other because so many rappers in the past have been so fucked up toward each other that they ruin the reputation for us. But if they knew the nature of me and RJ's relationship, they would know that the very first time I ever heard of him, I went straight to his site and bought every album on his website.
Yes, yes.
You know what I mean?
Well, it's
like,
well.
he's been to Detroit multiple times. That's my man. We talk all the time. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, that don't need to be Clive. He did step in there with his Philly on, just to make sure everything was good. That up, and we started getting into the conversation because niggas is not used to having these kinds of It's still weird to some niggas.
Right, but that's the reason why I wanted to have that conversation, because as you just said, he came into the live with the aggression. So I wanted to make sure we had that conversation so that everything got squared away and then we could laugh about it. Right. So that was intentional on my behalf to make sure we had the conversation. So it's like, OK, this is what it is. Boom, boom, boom. Now that that's out the way, let's have this conversation. Boom. So now we have the conversation. Everybody's good. Everybody's laughing. We do a second conversation. Niggas is sharing music. Look, this is what we want to do. We want to do this. Da, 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 boom, 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 boom. And then it gets to the Cassidy situation. Right. And that's where me and you have the conversation offline. We talk. I'm like, all right, you know what? I fucked up. I apologize to you privately. I was like, I'm going to do it publicly with Cass, and we're going to have Crooked Eye on the live so that everything is squared away and we can have another discussion about how niggas put they shit together from different regions. That is literally what I was trying to do, because I didn't want you to make a live or do a whole post that you did. That was not intentional. I wanted us to have that live that day. You couldn't make it. Cass was late, so we had to reschedule it. But by the time we was trying to reschedule it, it was too late. You put your post up because you went off of what I had already did. You know what I'm saying? He was thinking what he was thinking. So it was like, okay, you're trying to squash it because at the end of the day, you don't want that shit attached to your name. You said this to me privately. You said it publicly. You don't want the word beef attached to your name. Cool, I get it. So I understand that point. I understand that part from that place. So it's like, I bet. The conversation at that point, after me and Crooked had that talk, the conversation is dead. Nobody's talking about, there's no more lives. Nobody's having no more lives.
Agreed.
Then the week of my birthday, we did the podcast for Patreon. I jumped on the live with y'all.